to change this pattern, to say that no longer will I give permission for the God spark inside of me to be misused for fear. So instead, we are trying to create this new earth. This is the time of the new earth foretold, and we are the ones creating it with every thought, every word, every action, every deed. Where we choose to put our focus is what is creating it. Now, it is the most critical time right now because nothing like this has ever happened on our earth. We have been participating in a foretold cycle. We have these cycles. We have the Kali Yuga. We have all of this, but never before have we entered in a planetary system into an untold territory. We have the ability, and we have enough people have disconnected from the programs and the system of fear that we have reconnected into the grid of light that exists on the planet. We have assistance from divine beings who are helping us create this light grid. And it requires, and it can only be done from the inside. What I was told, because of our planet is in the most sanctified part that requires free will and choice. So how does this, our energy has been taken from us because of our consent. We just go along with what has always been here. We watch the TV and we think that so it is a program that runs so that we can agree to it because it requires our free will and choice. So enough people have awakened to their soul, have sought the light, which is spirit, who have become awakened and turning off the TV and connecting into pure nature and connecting into the divinity that is within them. And that has created the tipping balance on the planet at this time. When the Maya talked about the forecasting of 2012, it wasn't the end of the world, it was the end of a time. And it was the end of the time when this dark energy would rule the planet. And it was uncertain if we as a humanity would be able to elevate our soul and our consciousness enough to enter into this new time. Many people are still there. There are coexisting on the planet, and it's stretching and thinning and separating. About 2 months ago, I could feel in the ethers that there was like this huge energy that caught like I want to say like exploded somewhere, okay? And I could feel it inside of like my energy center because I'm infused with what I call the living library. We ourselves are in this energy that is right here. Heaven is not a place we go. Heaven is a frequency we bring in now. It is bringing heaven on earth by how we think and how we feel. We know where we are at by how we feel. Feelings are a part of a communication of our soul. Our intuition is the language of our soul. So when we are feeling the nature and we're feeling people, then we are connected. Then we are ignited soul beings that were meant to be here on this planet. So this is why they say paying attention to what we get caught up into. And watching it, isn't going to there's a new agey guilt that gets put out there. Oh, well, if you're watching TV, then you're not spiritual. Or if you're spiritual, then you shouldn't be doing that. That's another form of judgment. It's each individual, each person has to check in with themselves. Does this feel good to me? If it doesn't feel good, change it. Then you're doing your part and contributing it to the whole. Rather than it would be better if they would stop doing that and then we fight over there. It's like, okay, what can I do? Every single one of us must awaken to the sovereign soul inside, tap into the power that we have to create something different. And that is why it's so exciting to be here. We are literally moving beyond the golden age. The golden age is just part of that same old cycle. We are finally tipping the balance to enter into what I call the diamond age. That is like something entirely different. That is a crystalline structure that is in the universe, and we are finally taking our rightful ownership in it. And that's why we're here. This is what is so exciting. We're creating the paradise. And the kids that are being born in this day and age, they are born to an entire new world and earth that doesn't have the same karmic binds and ties that we did. New beings, new spirit, new energy, new paradise. Well, we got to do the work. We got to do the work. And that's what it's all about, is that there is a portal to heaven inside of every single person's soul. The seat of the soul is inside of the heart. We have learned to disconnect our heart, but we have actually synapses. We have cells inside of our heart that are neurons. We have a second brain. We have a third brain, our physical self within our will. Our will and our choice. Our will and our choice must align with that sense of divinity. When we are just going with the flow, not tapping into our sovereign power of our soul, then we are complacent, we are apathetic, passive, we think we have no power, nothing I do makes a difference. But if every single person took such personal responsibility for their own experience, it would change the world. If every single person knew how much power they had to make change by simply choosing to connect and do what feels good and right, have a sense of community. And there's really three things. Do I have a sense of goodness? And do I hold truth inside of myself? And do I seek beauty? If we hold on to those three things that are non-religious terms, right, then we could be the fullness of ourselves. And if every single person connected to the soul fire that they carry inside, living their passion, but most people are, what rules this world is finances, and finances is an economic way to keep everybody in the system of suppression, because we feel like I have to work first to make a living first, and then I will live, and then I will enjoy. Well, by then, your life force has already been taken from you. We each have to step into what brings my soul alive. What is the thing that is most joyful? That is the seed of purpose and mission that was placed in our hearts by God and ourselves before we ever came here. Those are the clues to what we should be doing. But we are told by the system, oh, you can't do that. And it's so ridiculous, because when we're little, we're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And then they say, we want to do this. And we're like, oh, well, choose something different because you can't do that. So we take it away from children. Okay, so the best thing that we could do to make this big change, and it's hidden right there, it actually says it directly. As adults, we need to reconnect with the childlike innocence within ourselves that was systematically taken out of us by the system. Going to school, our parents were brought up in a particular way, and they did not know better, and we do what we know. We do what we've been taught. And so our parents did what they were taught. And so many of us have tried to reverse it and coddle our children and entitle them. That actually went to the extreme. And so now, in this day and age, there's more of a sense of balance. If we really want to make a change, whoever might be watching this feeling hopeless or helpless or feeling like they don't have any ability, oh my God, the entire change of this earth rests on every single soul. If even one person did not have the choice or make the choice to connect with their light within, it would not have been enough to tip the balance. It requires all of us. Now, if you can imagine, in this invisible, ethereal realm, we give off light. Now, our physical eyes cannot perceive it, but many people have the ability to see auras, to see energies around people. There's what's called the Kirlian photography, which it actually shows photons of what it looks like within photons within biology. And so we give off a signature and we give off a light. If butterflies can see an ultraviolet, Can you imagine? We can't see in ultraviolet, but butterflies can. Other animals on our planet have the capability of seeing differences in the energy spectrum. Some of them are capable of seeing in infrared heat signatures. Now, I can't see infrared, okay? But so it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist just because I can't see it. So every single one of us gives off a quality of light. In the etheric realm, when I close my eyes, I can see like columns of light all around the planet with these deeply awakened souls. The more we connect to a sense of purpose, mission, unity, goodness, beauty, and truth, we begin to bring in a quality of light that our soul, our God spark, which is a portal, begins to shine. And in order for us to be in this timeline that we are now, that is outside of the suppression, oppression, and limitation and restriction, the negativity on the planet, the more people who are just by choice looking for the beauty, we can retrain our brain. When our brain shows us pain, it is meant to prevent us from having a past experience. Our brain is efficient. It's trying to serve us. It's not trying to harm us. It's trying to save us from pain that we experienced before because it does not know better. Because it thinks it's our survival is dependent on it because we have not connected to spirit. When we connect to spirit, we have a sense of trust, of purpose, and then clarity comes in. This is left brain, analytical, okay, with our right brain, spiritual, creative. When we are so left brain dominant, we are in dissonance. When we are so much in our head, we're not in our heart. That's dissonance. So we have to bring our left brain, right brain together in coherence. And when we do that, then we can relax and bring our brain into service with our heart. And then you are a fully ignited being, ready to serve in a different way, bringing in a quality of light that you're giving that is connected. And so if one person made the choice of, no, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to be more apathetic, I have no choice, and the world sucks, and then they just fall into this place, they're contributing to a web of darker energy that binds and holds them there as well as others. But here's the beautiful thing that I've learned, Sabrina. Because we are these most incredible souls, that the majority of our energy is safely already on the other side. It's part of our awareness that is able to be here. So we are safe, we are secure, we are taken care of. We have the ability to tap into connection, to feel that life supports us and that we have this divine spirit and guidance inside of us, that it is safe for us to be in our bodies. And if we are in situations that are harmful, we have to do the tough work to get out. Many people on the planet are experiencing that, and I did as well. So we have to do our part, right? But if we understand that this is inside of us and that we do have power, we do have an ability to make change by taking such personal responsibility for our joy, our happiness, our being content, rather than my life would be better if they, okay, oof. If those words come out of our mouth, then we know we are not in the right place. And if we say, my life could be better, what can I do? And then we begin to do that and take that level of personal responsibility, every person doing that on the planet would create an entirely different planet. And that's what we're doing. I could stay talking forever about this, so thank you.
And I could listen forever, and I think many of us could. I love that. And I do happen to know that you yourself had an experience with AFD healing. Would you mind sharing more about what happened?
Absolutely. Thank you, Sabrina. So the very first experience that I had because of my religious upbringing, right, was very religious in nature. I had the Blessed Mother, I had the Sacred Heart, this entwined. And so it was very much in tuned with my religious upbringing. Now, 22 years later, I had already learned all of these things that I'm sharing and experiencing and that I've shared with you. And so my understanding of reality was different. it grew beyond just the limited religious perspective. And I knew that they were beings, very enlightened beings, that were here on the planet as humans trying to assist us, and that we have placed them in a particular way. Now, when I had on October 3rd, 2022, I had a heart attack, and I had what's called a spontaneous coronary artery dissection. So it wasn't clogged arteries. Honestly, I felt like I was dying of a broken heart, literally, because by then my mother passed. 2 years after that, my father passed. And 2 years after that, in February of 2000, no, January 1st, exactly, we buried him on February, was my older brother. And in that moment, my heart was breaking, and my heart was affected. So the inside lining, it was like my heart was coming apart. So in a spontaneous coronary artery dissection, it's like a lining inside of the flap of the arteries begins to dissect. And so it separates and it creates a flap that where it creates like a trapping, so I had a heart attack. Okay, so I had an experience while in the hospital after the diagnosis. I had an experience of two things I want to share. Time does not exist in the way that we understand it to be. 25 years into the exploration of what it means to be an awakened soul, I have experienced what is called time loops. In quantum physics, it's called retrocausality, where we ourselves have an ability to extend our consciousness into another time and experience and change whatever we were experiencing back then. Okay, so retrocausality. When I was in this hospital bed, my sister was the one who took me. And after the diagnosis, she and I sat there, and this was again, would have already been four of us within my family. The possibility of my death because of a heart attack. And in that place, we were in such a state of duress. Now, my sister is a very gifted healer. She was helping me in the emergency room after the diagnosis, and while we were waiting for me to be taken to have an MRI. Now, here's the most amazing thing, Sabrina, that when I had my first NDE, I had a very real experience of someone who I felt was angelic holding my head and whispering, "It's going to be okay." When I was in my other experience in my heart attack 22 years later, my sister was holding my head. She kissed my forehead and then she whispered, "Sister, it's going to be okay." And I knew in that moment that it was 2 points in time, interconnected, a window of death. Okay, so here's my sister giving me energy and helping me heal. And she was doing this most incredible healing energy. I released and I opened and I asked out loud. That's what's most important, is that our free will is most sovereign. If we do not ask and give permission, it will not happen. So many of us are feeling like in pain, but we don't know how to ask. So what I did in that moment is I prayed, and in that moment I asked for, dear God, and I give permission for your benevolent healing beings to heal me. When I said those words and my sister was with me, all of a sudden I could see in the room, in present time, these most incredible fifth dimensional beings. They didn't have a physical body, but they were translucent, and it was as though the molecules in the air itself coagulated into this golden being that I could see. But it was like a million particles combined to make that being. Then they had this kind of technology, and it was all very golden in my mind's eye. And the only other place that I saw this was when I went to the healing temple in my NDE. And I knew that I had created a portal, a place outside of time and space that I was able to reconnect. And we all have this ability. This is what meditation is about. This is what extending our consciousness is. I was in the etheric realm with these fifth dimensional beings that I could perceive in my mind's eye, with my sister holding space and helping with energy. And I could see the technology technology that they had. It was as though it looked like some kind of scanning equipment. It was like an X-ray with an MRI and a CT scan and something else all combined. And it had like these codes and this effervescent sparkles. And I was told that my body was being remodulated to bring in the original codes. What we do not understand as humans is that we stream through energy, and what we think is solid is connected to everything. What I saw is the field of energy, and it was not separate. All of a sudden, I saw myself inside of this very thick fibers of energy and what was being restructured. And then I had this whole experience of my own being be recalibrated, and then I had something really important and cute. Okay. So while all this incredible, miraculous stuff is happening inside my mind's eye, it was as though there were these little teeny tiny microscopic angels that were dressed like little carpenters. And I could picture them in my mind's eye as though they were putting wallpaper. So I saw what they had look like a squeegee, and they were like putting what looked like wallpaper. Okay. Well, I didn't realize that a spontaneous coronary artery dissection, a SCAD heart attack, had this flap. And in my mind's eye, it was like they were working inside of me to seal that flap and bring it back up into so that it would no longer be separated. Then I had an experience with my Blessed Mother because I am named after her. I do still have a connection. I very rarely said this. I don't say this, Sabrina, because it's a very big thing to say that I still have apparitions of the Blessed Mother. She appears to me. I have communications. She gave me her name as, and I'll say it in Spanish and translate it in English, Nuestra Señora de Iluminación, de luz oscuros y sombras sagrados. And what that means is I am the Lady of Illumination, of sacred light, dark, and shadow. That is the title that she presented to me. That is what comes through. And so many of the work that I do is still connected with that huge infusion with the apparition of the Blessed Mother. There has not been for Marian apparitions, there hasn't been one in recent years, and I find it really difficult for me to go to that level, to claim that. But I feel like without claiming it, I'm also denying her. I do see her. I do feel her. I do receive information and messages from her. She gave me her title, and she appeared to me on that day. Sorry, this is the first time I'm sharing it in this way, that I knew that I made an even greater dedication of my life to her. That if I would be survived and I would be able to be chosen to remain, that I would stop denying her and I would be again to actually voice more of her messages. I'm a very, very rare being. I know that I am a soul reader, I'm an intuitive, I'm a Akashic reader, I can do all these things, and I am a Marian apparitioner, and I feel this energy within me, and it's a lot for me. But I serve no one when I play small. So I had that experience not only with those 5D beings, but also with a reconnection to her, which brings it full circle because when I was 3 years old, my father was going to university through Highlands University out of Las Vegas, New Mexico, and he was going for bilingual education. So Spanish is my first language, and I lost a lot of it when I went back to school, but I'm regaining it. But because he was in an exchange program, we were in Mexico for about 6 months. And when I was 3, my brother was 5, and my younger brother was conceived there but not born yet. We went to Teotihuacan, which is the pyramids there, and my mom recounts where I, at 3 years old, almost 4, was so excited, and I was saying, "Mama, mira, mira, es Templo del Sol. Look, Mom, there's a Temple of the Sun." And that I, as a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, was like so excited, and I knew the place. I knew the place. I had memories. My mom, many years later, because one of the other things is I'm a mesa carrier in the Andean tradition, the Queros and mesa carriers of Peru, and this other indigenous cultures. And when I was talking to her about the archetype of Quetzalcoatl, and feeling this deep connection, she was like, "Well, mija, don't you remember? You were there at 3." And all of a sudden, it was like this massive awareness and this downloads of all these memories and this explosion of memory that opened up into past lives and even future lives, all around the Maya culture, around master timekeepers, souls and reincarnation, this illumination of time, and that the Maya were here to bring in this incredible energy. And only now is this energy returning. And so I see that, like, my experience with both starving, being on the planet, having had past memories of living on these planet systems, and that what I realize is that I chose to be here at this most sacred time because I, as a soul, was part of its creation, as many were. And those of us who lived in Atlantean, Lemurian, the times of Mu, pre-Egyptian, Mayan, Olmec, South America, all of these massive cultures have chosen to reincarnate at this time to see it come into fruition. That we have been seeding these ideas, these energies, these knowledges and awareness, so that when the time was foretold, and there have been many prophecy where these people would incarnate to begin to usher in the shift. And I would be remiss if I don't say it on this channel that we're coming up into 2030. And 2030, from between now until then, for the next 5 years, as a humanity, matters most. We are creating this huge entire shift. I do feel that there has been this massive emission from within our galactic system. I feel that there's going to be a wave of light that comes through that awakens us. And people, wherever we are at, if we are focused more on the position of healing, a lot of our pain is going to come up so that it can be healed. But so many of us who have been dedicating our lives to feeling better will feel this heightened, ecstatic, loving essence to help usher in for people who are feeling heavier. And so we are changing it, and this is the time that has been told. It's not something that's coming. It is something that is here now, and we're making it. That was a big thing to answer your question about a 5D healing. Thank you so much. And you don't even know how important and validating what you just said was. It's a lived experience. I speak only to my own personal experience. That's all I can do. And I am not here to convince a soul, right? I live this experience and it is mine. It is filled and infused with truth because I would be responsible for it. And no single individual or person is worth me losing my soul by conveying anything else other than truth, because I'll have to answer for it. And I am not willing to live that kind of hellish realm by infusing and spreading falsities. Now I'll just share with you really quick is that my mom had a nickname for us 4 kids. My mom was very, very spiritual and very attuned, and she knew then, and I've had experiences in my life where my mom, she knew she was a star being. She spoke constantly of like feeling this return and this connection to Orion. My brother translated, or not translated, but he compiled 38 millimeter videos. And so there's 38 millimeter video of us in Teotihuacan, and 38 millimeter is silent. There's no audio. And so part of his big soul's purpose and mission before his passing, he compiled all of those home videos and pictures, and he asked my parents to try to narrate it. So he has a clip that's like where they're talking about us being in Mexico, and my mom and my dad are narrating it. And at the very, very end, my brother gives them an opportunity, and my mom says, "And if you are watching this for the future generations and I'm not here, you can find me in Orion." So I had like an infusion of this star essence in my being my entire life. But my mom had a name for each one of us kids. My brother was her strength. My younger brother, her courage. My younger sister, her faith. But she called me her wisdom. And now I understood even more of how that is coming to fruition. This is where we take knowledge and transform it into lived experience, and only through lived experience can it become knowledge, transformed to wisdom. Wisdom is having the knowledge but knowing what to do with it. And sometimes I know that it is not appropriate for me to share for people who are not spiritually awakened or attuned just yet, because it causes more confusion and harm. But if somebody hears something that I have said that does not fully make sense, it might just be that there hasn't been enough lived experience or knowledge yet for it to make sense yet. I come to you 25 years almost after my NDE, and I have dedicated every single day. Every moment of my day is dedicated into spiritual connection. And it began first with my desire to feel better, but I understood how it serves and why. And now I call myself, I struggled with titles forever, but I've been doing this work and working with souls for over 16 years. And now with Zoom and other platforms like this, I have the benefit and the beauty of working with people all over the world and giving them soul readings to be able to connect and sense and feel their soul essence, and to convey the messages that are most important for their being and their growth. And my only desire is that whatever this happened to me, I don't want it to be in vain, and may it serve. That I have such a deep love and desire for humanity. I want us to feel better. We're meant to feel better. We're meant to have a beautiful experience and not to just be so connected to just pain. In this 3D world, pain has been the motivator for purpose. Pain pushes us to seek a feeling better. And so even though we may start in that way, I have such deep love and compassion because I too began there. And instead, it is may our purpose push us into our passions, and vice versa. May our passion push us to purpose, so that it's no longer pain driven, but that we can attune to something different, and that each of us do this work. We have the ability to heal, to create enough knowing that we are not going to perpetuate this by trying to raise our kids in the exact same way that we were. And that takes a lot of courage. And so people who are looking to make decisions of what are better in alignment for themselves, is that I too, I'm still Catholic. I still consider myself to be, but I have a greater, bigger understanding. There was a time when I stepped away so that I could have some greater understanding and lived experience. And I know that there is truth sprinkled into it. But if we have soul eyes, if we develop a sense of soul, we develop a sense of discernment. We connect to our spirit. When we connect to spirit, we find something special inside that is there that we are supposed to take care of. When we connect inside, then we can infuse with something greater and bigger than ourselves, which is spirit. And then our life begins to become in flow. Our pain is less. We have greater understanding. Grace comes in to where we can have forgiveness, self-compassion. We can begin to have courage to make the changes that we know we need to make. Then we can live more authentically, more in alignment with our purpose, pursuing those things that are exciting to us. And that is a whole other creation of a different kind of human that I call Homo luminous. We are meant to become awakened into our etheric light body, and the loneliness that we feel, the struggle that we feel, will not be there as great. Now, doesn't mean that I have no problems. Just means I have tools to deal with those problems. That's the difference. That's the difference. Again, I could go on and on, Sabrina. I really, truly do feel, and if I can say one last thing, that I feel that if I had one thing to be able to guide a person to that would make a change in their life starting right now, is to become what I call the sacred observer. It means that we are observing and aware. We're watching our environment and we're paying attention to how we feel. It's called mindfulness, but it's more than that. When we are in a place of sacred observation, we're not judging. We're not saying, oh, look at me, look there I go again. How could I be so stupid? That's judgment. Okay, that's not self-awareness. That's, oh my gosh, I'm feeling this thing again. I don't know what this is, what this doesn't feel good. Okay, let me not feel that. Okay, that's not real, that's not true. Then we work with it. Okay, that's being the sacred observer. It is taking mindfulness and awareness of what we're thinking and feeling, and then actively in the moment making another choice. Now that's power. Then we begin to change, and then we feel like, I would feel so better if they would stop. No, I feel better because I stop. If I cannot change that, I can change this. If there's the one thing is to have that awareness, but most people, when we are seeking, myself included, I went through 15 years of seeking, thinking that I was missing something. Even though I had my NDE, I still went the same journey of, I want to find it. I'm looking, and we're reaching outside of ourselves. Okay. So I felt like there's something missing. I want what I had back, and I'm praying and looking and reaching. And then we begin this journey, and we're seeking, we go farther and farther from ourselves. And when we finally get there, we arrive at the same place we began. So if there was one shortcut that I could help a person, is to say, most people will die seekers, and most seekers will die never having found what they wanted because they did not have the courage to look in the only one place that it exists, and that's here. If anybody on their spiritual journey can begin by connecting into their inner portal, which is their soul, and reaching deep within to feel this connection of their higher self that is safe with God, whatever that word you choose on the other side, that energy begins to flow through your heart center and extend outwards. And that is a very different invitation for reality, because you begin from a connected place. We cannot connect from a separate place. We have to connect first and then have our life. And that is the number one thing that I learned. And if I had to boil it down with all of my 15 years of struggling to try to figure this out, once I made that one shift, everything shifted. And then I finally understood. The God spark is inside of me. Everything I seek is within. If I connect within, then my outside, as within, so without. Okay? And if we feel that we are without, then we will be empty within. So connect within. And when we heal the inside, the outside follows. And that's where we need to begin. That was what was taken out of us from the very beginning, separating us from our own divinity. So connect to that divinity. It's inside and it's powerful. It is something beyond us. It is that greater part of ourself, something beyond just our small thinking mind. It is sacred. It is the absolute most vital thing. That's what we're here for. So thank you so much. I am, well, right now, just my name, just right there as it says, Maria-Lupita Gurule.com. The only difference is that there's not a little hyphen. So it's, then that would be the easiest way. So just typing in my name, and I have a website, and I am beginning to release a lot of videos with this greater understanding as well. So there's a lot out there already, and I look forward to beginning to share again more. So just thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you so much, Sabrina. It is the partnership and the fulfillment of a life purpose and a mission. So I thank you for this extraordinary opportunity. Blessings to you always and in all ways.